All right, let's start off with what's going on in the short term. We've got winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings up also into the northeast. Let's dive into these warnings first, and then we'll kind of work our way back west across the country. Winter storm warnings all the way to the coast. I've got some questions, though, especially here around Portland, along the coast. I think there's going to be some mixing of the precipitation here that may end up cutting down on some of your snow totals, but get inland just a little bit up towards Augusta, big snow here, back into southern New Hampshire, southern Vermont, here into northwest Massachusetts. A sharp dividing line, too. You can see these winter storm warnings are flanked by winter weather advisories and really nothing to the south along the coast of Connecticut and for a good part of Connecticut. But further to the west, we've got winter weather advisories extending pretty far to the west across Ohio, where we're going to get a good coating of snow in the next 24 hours or so, and it's been snowing pretty much all day to your west. More snow across Pennsylvania. It's not going to snow down into Philadelphia, up to Trenton. You can see it's all to your west, so up towards Allentown, Harrisburg, PA, State College. We've got the snow on the way here, back to Pittsburgh, and then the snow is moving your way into Ohio. This is not good news, though, to the south. Ice. We're expecting freezing rain in the early morning hours of Tuesday from western parts of Virginia, not the extreme southwest part of Virginia, though. We're going to have some warm air that's going to likely move up here, up through the Tennessee Valley, changing everything over to just plain rain. But that cold air is going to be stubborn on the east side of the mountain, so winter weather advisories out here for that ice potential. And then further to the west, a little bit of a mix here across Tennessee and Kentucky. We'll look at that in just a second, but you can see we've got the advisories going for the snow that's already flying way to the west. Let's talk about this sudden stratospheric warming, the second one that's going to be happening. This is what we're seeing right now. We're already feeling that. And here's the deal. When you get this happening around the Arctic, you disrupt where the polar vortex is. You stretch it. Okay, this is going to back off a little bit. I'm not so much interested in this. Okay, typically you would see this fade. Maybe it would morph a little bit. But look what's showing up on this afternoon's European. Well, bang, we do it again. Okay, so two sudden stratospheric warming events as we head into December, and another one toward the middle of the month, which means we may get a warm-up across the lower 48 as we get toward the middle and end of the month. But I think this means another big cold blast toward the end of the month for a lot of the country. It's a long-range outlook. If that's interesting to you, hope you'll subscribe and come back. Check this out. This is the European snowfall amount through the next couple of days. I want to let this run because here's what we're going to see, I think, through Thursday. This looks pretty good, but take everything I show you here with a grain of salt. I just want you to see how much snow that the European is just blasting out this afternoon. I'm not going to say, yeah, you're going to get this big run of snow up here through the northern plains into the upper Midwest. This one looks weird, and multiple shortwave northwest flow events creating snow diving northwest to southeast in this type of setup. So a long way to go before we get there. The idea with showing you this, it's active. There is no doubt about it. The models are picking up on that. Multiple chances for snow. Let me show you what we're talking about in the short term. We've got this wintry precipitation moving to the east. I'm going to let this go pretty quickly because we're going to take a look at the big picture and dive in a little closer in just a second. But the big picture, I should say first here, more snow across the northern Rockies. Someone said you never talk about the Pacific Northwest. We talk about it just about every night, I think, here and every day on the channel. Sometimes there's not a lot going on. I don't talk about Southern California a lot either. It's sort of quiet right now. But there is some snow sliding down into the northern Rockies from the Canadian Rockies, and then we're dealing with our snowstorm in the east and rainstorm if you're down near the coast. This moves away, dumping some heavy snow into down east Maine through at least, I think, Wednesday morning, and then we say goodbye to this, and this is actually going to move up the coast and really start to deepen. But now high pressure building in from the prairies of Canada here, pushing some cold air down into the central plains. It's going to get colder, believe it or not. The snow is going to be flying again back across Colorado. Folks in Glenwood Springs, Colorado checking in. People in the Wasatch checking in saying it's snowing. You've got some more snow on the way, I think, as we head into Wednesday. It's not going to be a ski season saver up to this point, but I think we'll take any snow we can get here in the mountains. And then more light snow moving through the Great Lakes in areas that have already seen, what is this, the third round of snow now this week, or in a week, I should say. And then we're going to turn the lake effect on for a little while behind this. As this cold Arctic high slips to the south, a little bit of snow showing up here across southern Colorado into parts of New Mexico. Look how far south this is going. It's The new European from this afternoon is literally showing snow in Texas, the Lone Star State. Now, I don't know. Listen, this is going out pretty far, but it looks like to me some cold air starts to intrude this part of North Texas. I don't think we're going to get the snow into Dallas, but it's going to turn a little cold for sure. And now we're watching this system slide east along the Gulf Coast. Cold, high pressure in place, snow showers into the northeast. We're watching this area. Back to the west, more snow dropping in here with this next system. It's going to really start to crank up as we head into the weekend. But we're watching this piece of energy slide across the south. All right? The new run of the European today, it's back. The snow is back. It went away last night. I said it this morning if you watch the update. I think this is going to do a windshield wiper effect, and it's swinging back with the winter precip back into Virginia and North Carolina. Something to watch. Big snow starting to pick up across British Columbia as we head into the weekend. That's going to move into the Canadian Rockies, and then it's going to drop south. Big wind and rain also into the Pacific Northwest. Snow levels pretty high here. You got to get into interior areas before you see the snow, and then some mixed precip with some snow here along the East Coast. Look at this. A weird look here on the European, trying to put some kind of storm into this region. It's hinting at it, right? If I went to early this morning's run, this is what I'm talking about. I showed you guys this run. It was super suppressed. Got rid of it pretty quick. We're looking at it from this afternoon, and we are kind of back in business as we're seeing the model swing back toward the solution of some type of system trying to swing along the bottom of this trough. More snow falling across the Great Lakes. I want to show you this. We've talked about this southern system, but here comes another piece of energy out of the west. It's going to bring some snow, maybe to snow drought-stricken Winnipeg. Maybe you'll get a little bit of snow out of this. Certainly not a big one, though. Some more cold air, though. Follow these isobars coming straight out of the North Pole. So very cold air behind this with a 492 height line swinging just to the south of Hudson Bay. So this is a cold pocket of air here. Very Arctic, moving across the Great Lakes, more lake effect snow. There's the heavy wind and snow and rain across the west. And I just going to let this roll out. We're now talking about a week, well, almost a week from now as we head into the weekend. Cold northwest flow. You've got to watch these impulses that will try to swing in from the northwest. So I think that's one of the reasons. Look at this. Boom, 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 boom. Multiple storms, at least pieces of energy dropping in from the northwest. These are kind of weak, clipper-type systems. But this could be the kind that could drop a couple of inches of snow pretty quick. Here's your rebound. As we watch our stratosphere start to, I guess, cool down a little bit, you're starting to see things change a little bit. The Arctic air starts to retreat some, and then I think we start to turn stormy across the west once we get towards the 13th and 14th and 15th, all right? And then the cold, I think, is going to get unleashed once again. Here's the GFS if you're counting along at home. It's got your low moving to the northeast. Everything looks pretty good here. I'd say things are almost lockstep. Even this random snow in Texas here trying to show up Thursday here in the Panhandle. Where are we at? Lubbock, Amarillo, maybe? I don't know. It's going to be a pretty low chance of anything here. And then as we move into the weekend, here comes that southern system. The GFS wants to really suppress this. I've lost all faith in the GFS, to be honest with you. But the pattern's here. The system is there. I don't know. I think you still watch it. And it's also picking up on these multiple clipper systems moving in from the northwest. Also, it's a little bit lighter, too, I would argue, with the precip across the Pacific Northwest. It does bring it in as we head into Sunday and Monday. And you also start to see some really weird things happen once you get this far out. So I don't believe any of it. All right, let's talk about the snow we're watching right now. It's going to continue to work east into Ohio tonight. You know, you get up towards Toledo, that snow could get a little heavy late tonight. And then along the Ohio River, all right, this is going to be an area to watch for some sleet, some freezing rain down into parts of Kentucky. We may mix over to some snow just north of the river here and then change back over to rain and then back to snow with some freezing rain on the southern side of this. Ice on the east side of the mountains, and there's the banding of snow. Some of this could get heavy at times, but I want you to watch how fast it's moving out, right? Some pretty strong winds kicking this thing along fairly quickly. And then as we get into early Tuesday morning, it's going to be snowing to beat the band in Pittsburgh, I think, when you get up on Tuesday from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, State College, Morgantown, Wheeling, Parkersburg. Well, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see the snow here. And then we'll see that rain change to snow across West Virginia, too. Big snow into the northeast. This starts to move in as we head into the afternoon on Tuesday into Maine. And then look at the coast here, trying to mix over with a little bit of rain. Definitely raining here from Connecticut down into eastern Mass, Cape Cod, New York City, Long Island, New Jersey. Too warm for any snow, but a lot of moisture moving into this cold air. So once you get north enough to get into the cold, that snow is going to be heavy. And just as fast as it moves in, it's out of here. And then we turn cold. Look at this northwest flow that's going to kick in with this second round of snow. More snow, I think, on the way for the Ohio Valley. And then here comes your feeder bands off the lakes with the lake effect in full effect. This is the European data. Then we'll flip over to the forecast touch numbers here. At least they've been cruised by a human at least at some point. Close to a foot of snow here into the northeast. A closer look here into New England. Some pretty heavy snow on the way across this area. Some areas could get, again, several inches of snow by the time this is all said and done, especially here into southern parts of New Hampshire and Vermont, into parts of Maine. I think a good 8, 9, 10 inches of snow likely here. That snow dropping off really quick, though, once you get into southern Massachusetts, a little bit before it changes over to rain into parts of Connecticut, but it's all snow back here to the west. Once you get north and west of Albany, some pretty heavy snow possible here with lighter amounts across Pennsylvania. It looks like a good solid 2 to 4 inches to me. And then a little bit further to the west, here comes your snow into Ohio. I'd say for the entire state, pretty close to a 1 to 3 inch snow. Lesser amounts once you get down near the river and get into Kentucky, maybe more of a mixing situation. And you can kind of see that here on the freezing rain potential. Definitely picking up a little bit here into parts of southern Ohio, northeast Kentucky, West Virginia, and down here into Virginia, West Virginia. And we're already seeing this freezing rain mixed precipitation bag across parts of Arkansas and Missouri tonight. Let's track these systems starting across the west over the next couple of days. So this is a closer look here. Here comes the snow, by the way, dropping into the Cascades. A little bit of light rain here into Seattle, into Portland, but the heavier snow inland here into Idaho, down into Montana, I should say up into Montana, and then dropping down into Utah, into the Wasatch, into Colorado. We'll start to see that snow pick up, and then I'll push this out a little bit ahead in time. There comes that next round of heavier snow by the time we get into Friday. Here are your snow totals through Tuesday. Looking at the European, of course, the heaviest amounts will be in the mountains with, 3 to 6 inches. Some of the highest elevations could get 6 to 10. And then you see the pinks showing up here in the highest peaks of Montana. Some areas could get close to a foot. But I'm going to let this roll out. More snow all the way through Thursday. As that snow drops into Texas, will we see a coating of snow here? One has to wonder and watch. I don't think it makes it into Dallas, but hey, maybe I'll be wrong on this. Looks a little too warm to me. And then we have more snow coming as we head into next week across this area. And then, all this craziness off to the north and east showing up. Cold weather, though. A little bit of a warm-up, I think, on the east side of the mountains heading into Tuesday, but the Arctic plunge starts to drop in with below zero temperatures moving across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, barely getting above zero, if at all, across parts of these areas and down into the Dakotas. And this true Arctic air continues to push off to the south and east. Further to the south and east, the snow's starting to back off as we go through the overnight, so by the time you wake up in St. Louis on Tuesday, the snow's a distant memory, and we've got some sunshine on the way as high pressure builds in. There comes the snow across the west. A second shot of snow for the UP of Michigan, into Michigan, Wisconsin. It's fairly light, though. We're just going to add a little more to the snowpack, and it's going to stay cold enough that it's not going anywhere over the next couple of days with, if anything, more rounds of snow all the way into next week. Here's a look at your temperatures. Watch this, guys. This is incredibly cold air. We've got some pretty chilly air already working through the Great Lakes behind this first system, but the second one, man, this is the real cold. Low temperatures heading into Thursday morning. How about that? Flirting with 10 below for Minneapolis, near 5 below towards Des Moines. That's a pocket of some really Arctic air. It's going to modify some of those that head towards the Great Lakes. It's going to, some of that water here certainly helping to modify the air, but notice how the air that goes just to the south of Lake Michigan staying colder as a result of a lesser influence from the lakes. The Northeast, boom, there goes the snow we've already looked at closely. High pressure builds in as we get into Wednesday, drying things out, calming things down, a little bit of a break. Not much snow melt, though, with some cold temperatures. And then here comes that reinforcing shot of cold. With that front, we'll see a few snow showers. And then behind it, the lake effect snow picks up. A pretty good fetch here off of Lake Huron, picking up more moisture off of Lake Erie, so there could be some heavy snow behind it. And now we're turning our attention to the southwest as some rain moves back into the south. So wet weather along the Gulf Coast from Georgia, Alabama, down to Mississippi, Florida. More rain on the way here, especially across the northern parts of the state. And then this is the area to watch. Okay, I'm watching North Carolina. I'm watching Virginia over the next couple of days. That's a weird run here, too. I mean, I'll tell you what's really weird, right? You've got this one system moving through, and then as the trough swings in, the European tries to develop another low. Weird. That's just very strange to me. I don't think that's going to happen. I'll throw that one out with the bathwater. All right, here's a look at your temperatures heading into Tuesday night. Getting cold again. By the way, Tuesday, if you're looking for highs, not very high. Pretty cold. As we get into Wednesday, maybe a little bit warmer as you go further to the south, but there comes the real cold moving in from the northwest across the upper Midwest. Again, this will modify some as it moves into the Ohio Valley into the northeast, but even here, it's going to get downright cold into the northeast with near or below zero temperatures as we wrap up the week. All right, if you made it this far, that probably means you're a weather geek like me. You're really into this stuff. I mean, it's okay. It's all good. It's a friendly place. Hope you'll subscribe. Come back. I always love hearing from you guys in the comments. See you next time. Be safe.